Okay, so many of you may have just come off of our 10-day detox that we launched at the end of March. Congratulations if you made it through, even if you were only able to do a few days. Congrats. I hope that you found it really worthwhile. I hope you found more clarity, that you slept, that your bloating was better, that your um, energy eventually got better. I know some of you really have mentioned that you struggle a lot with fatigue early on in the detox, and we're going to talk a little bit about tonight about why that is. But congratulations. I hope that it went well for you. I hope that you learned a few things. I hope that you came away with some more recipes and some ideas of things that you could be eating on a daily basis to help you see that scale move a little bit more often and to help you keep inflammation low and reach your goals. So let's talk a little bit about why the detox is so important. How many different things are involved in that detox process, and that the way it's set up is kind of it's really kind of a sneaky way to get in there. Sneaky is not a great word, but it's a really brilliant way to kind of check in with your body and see what's working and what's not. Yes, there is that mini elimination protocol, right? That we go through and we check to see if there's any of the foods that we're eating on a regular basis that might be causing a little bit more inflammation in our system than we realized, and that wouldn't have noticed what they were had we not brought our bodies down to this lovely low inflammatory state. And then when we added that thing back in, maybe for you it's dairy, maybe it's rice, maybe it's something totally random, and you wouldn't have noticed that those like puffy fingers or dark spots under your eyes, or maybe the scale went up a little bit, and you wouldn't have noticed all that if it were things that you were just doing on a regular basis every single day and hadn't brought that inflammation down. So congratulations if you did that. That's valuable in itself. The other piece of the puzzle is those first couple of days and throughout the detox, but especially those first couple of days, we bring insulin levels down. We're not eating high carb. We're still eating carbs. We're just eating high fiber carbs because we're really focusing on the green veggies, the things that are full of fiber, full of nutrients, but aren't going to really spike our blood sugar. And for some people, they feel pretty significant fatigue at that time. And that is just a sign to tell us that your body's having a hard time um, adjusting or transitioning from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. And there's all sorts of different processes and hormones, and we hear a lot about insulin, right? But there's other hormones that come into play. There's glucagon. There's ketones. You've probably heard about all those things, and we're not looking to put you into ketosis or anything, but we are looking to see if we can turn on lipolysis. So we know what glycolysis. We know that there's this process where we burn glucose, right? And then we have another process in the body where the body goes in and kind of empties out glucose stores in the liver and kidneys and other places that we store extra glucose when we have more than what we need. And then, of course, that gets stored in our fat. And when insulin is high, insulin is a signaling hormone that signals to your fat cells, hey, it's time to grow. So when insulin is high, it's priming the body to begin storing energy for another time, which is why if insulin is high, we cannot get into fat burn. It's really tricky. So what we do during those first couple of days of the detox is we bring glucose levels low enough so that insulin levels can go really nice and low. Hopefully, if we were watching your blood sugar, it would stay between like 70 and 80 ideally. For some people, it takes a little bit longer than 3 days to get to that 70 or 80, but that's about where we know the insulin levels are low enough that the body begins to calm down and allows glucagon to begin to rise, which is another little hormone that signals to the body that we can start making glucose from other things. And this can be great if we have plenty of amino acids on board and fiber and nutrients, because then the body will find ways to utilize those and open up stored glycogen in the liver, like we talked about earlier. Or it can be not so great if the body signals, like there's a signal that insulin is low and we need more glucose, because we always need glucose to power our red blood cells. And we always need glucose to power certain parts of our brain. Most everything else in our body can run on fat. But those two things, which are pretty big things that are running all the time, always need to have a supply of glucose. And so when the body senses that those levels are getting low, it has all sorts of other processes it can engage to begin making glucose. Gluconeogenesis is what it's called elsewhere. If we don't have enough protein, amino acids, and those types of things that we're taking in our diet, then it begins to look for it elsewhere. That's where we start to worry about muscle loss, because the body will begin to break down muscle in order to have the amino acids that it needs to make hormones, to repair tissues, and the other important processes in their body, because all of our hormones, not just our sex hormones, but all of our hormones, are made from different combinations of amino acids, which come from proteins, right? And what we want is to see if you are efficient at getting into this place where your body can burn, can create enough glucose to power the things that need to run on glucose, and then can begin to unlock fat stores. It's called lipolysis, where the body begins to unburden, unlock fat and begin to burn it. And that's what we're going for, right? And that's what happens for a lot of you is you start getting on the scale on day 2 and day 3, and you start to see the scale move. And we've brought inflammation down and we're starting to unlock fat stores, but the energy just might not be there yet. And so by day 4, we add the fruit back in, right? And at that point, some people report, if they were feeling significant fatigue, that the fatigue has lifted and they're doing much better with a little bit of fructose. And for others, it's not until day 5 or day 6 when they get that fructose and another starchy carb. And that can be enough to give your body the energy that it needs to kind of go through the day and then flex back into fat burn. And so if you are one of those that got really, really fatigued early on in the detox, but saw the weight move, that's a good sign. That tells us that you can burn fat. You're not weight loss resistant, right? And that's really good news. But it also tells us that maybe we need to be a little bit more thoughtful about how we get you into fat burn so that we don't have that massive fatigue. Now, if we were to just keep hammering detox style food, for a couple of weeks on end, your body would adjust and you'd be fine. But most of us live in the real world and have to work and take care of family members and do all the things. And so that debilitating fatigue is not really an option. And so what I would love for you to do and for you to consider is that once you've been through the detox, and if you've had a really good experience and you've seen weight loss and you've seen, brain fog lift, and you've seen so many of the improvements like gut health and those types of things, that you circle back to the notes. Hopefully you took really good notes during the detox, and you look at the days where you felt the best. Where did you feel really good, and where were you also still losing weight? And for most people, that's early on, days 1 through 5, maybe even days 1 through 7. And I would love you to choose a couple of those days that you could rinse and repeat. And then I would look at your schedule. And if you are the type that maybe Monday through Thursday you're in the office and your schedule is pretty similar every day, that can be a really good time to layer in these detox style days. Have some low carb days. Let's keep our insulin levels low. Let's keep our inflammatory markers low. Let's see if our body can get into detox or get into fat burn every week for a couple of days, and then flex back up to a more normal diet, the diet that you're used to eating. You're still going to be eating really well. You're still going to be getting your protein and getting your fiber and your veggies, but you're going to have more carbs in your diet on those other days. Essentially, it's a form of carb cycling is what we're doing. So we're having some lower carb days and we're having some higher carb days. We're not going into keto. We're not doing anything crazy like that, but we are. And keto, and I don't want to give keto a bad name. Keto is a really great therapeutic tool for people when they need it. But for most of us, we don't have to be in ketosis to burn fat. So we can just bring those carbs down low enough so the insulin levels are in a really good place so that the body is like, I'm happy, I'm doing fine. Sure, we can burn some fat. I've got plenty of things on hand. I don't need to panic. And then other times we want to restore your ability to burn through that glucose so that we preserve both of the capacities that you have to burn both fat and glucose. And then rinse and repeat that. If you could do it every week, I think you'll see really good benefits. If you can't do it every week, maybe every other week, maybe once a month, you have 3 or 4 or 5 days back to back that you go into kind of that low carbohydrate, lots of veggies, good quality fats, good quality proteins, have 1 serving of fruit, 1 serving of starchy carbs, and work your way into that for a couple of days a month, and then back up into a more regular Mediterranean style meal or diet the rest of the month. And let's see if that is enough to give you, for some of you that have significant weight to lose and want to be seeing the scale moving more regularly, you could do it weekly, like I said. And for others who are just trying to kind of kickstart that process every month, you could do it once a month. If you're still cycling, if you have a menstrual cycle, I would absolutely recommend doing it the first week of your cycle. So once you start your bleed is a time where we are really resilient. Our bodies are are much more capable of getting into fat burn. And so we tend to be able to handle things like a detox and lower glucose levels and those types of things a lot more efficiently. We can get into fat burn a lot more efficiently. And that third week of our cycle tends to be pretty good too. So right after we ovulate tends to be a really good time to do that as well. So maybe you only do it twice a month. Or maybe you do it just 2 days every single week or 3 days every single week and then flex back up. Whatever works best for you. And we want this to be tools that you can take with you and use indefinitely. Maybe you just do a big 10-day detox once every quarter. Or maybe you take some of these mini detox days and incorporate them in your week if you've still got a few pounds that you want to be losing over the next couple of months to meet your goals. So I hope you find it helpful. And let me know if you've got any additional questions, and would love to be of support for you. So let us know in the comments if we can give you any other ideas, and I will look forward to seeing you in April, or excuse me, in April. We have a really fun month of some mini challenges that I think will help to keep us all on target as things get crazier and crazier in the summer. So until next time, be well.